Ladies and gentlemen, I am Electron. This reader beware is a little personal, however I will endeavour to make sure that I present all the facts and then place my opinion. Just a little warning, I will provide some personal background as it will provide a little support for my opinion on the subject. During the 72nd World Health Assembly, the World Health Organization voted to classify gaming disorder in the International Classification of Diseases. On the screen is a classification as presented by the ICD-11. For those of you listening, I will read it to you aloud. Gaming disorder is characterized by a pattern of persistent or recurrent gaming behavior, digital gaming or video gaming, which may be online, i.e. over the internet, or offline, manifested by 1. Impaired control over gaming, e.g. onset, frequency, intensity, duration, termination, and context. 2. Increased priority given to gaming to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other life interests and daily activities. 3. Continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. The behavior pattern is of sufficient severity to result in sufficient impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. The pattern of gaming behavior may be continuous or episodic and recurrent. The gaming behavior and other features are normally evident over a period of at least 12 months in order for a diagnosis to be assigned, although the required duration may be shortened if all diagnostic requirements are met and symptoms are severe. Exclusions include hazardous gaming, which its description sounds remarkably similar to the gaming disorder, bipolar type 1 disorder, and bipolar type 2 disorder. So why is the latest ruling by the WHO such a big issue? First off, only two types of addictive behaviors are classified in the ICD, gambling and gaming. The reason this is an issue is these are not the only forms of escapism or potential non-substance based addictions. Addictive behavior is described as follows. Disorders due to addictive behaviors are recognizable and clinically significant syndromes associated with distress or interference with personal functions that develop as a result of repetitive rewarding behaviors other than the use of dependence-producing substances. Disorders due to the addictive behaviors include gambling disorder and gaming disorder, which may involve both online and offline behavior. Based on this description, addictive behaviors can include reading, social media use, work, and even fitness. Yet these are not classified in the ICD. I am willing to admit that there are far more people who exhibit addictive behavior to video games than reading, but nonetheless it seems as though there is some agenda to this, particularly as this falls after the Great Loot Box debate. Following on from this, the wording and the description for gaming disorder are vague. Impaired control over gaming, e.g. onset, frequency, intensity, duration, termination, context. Being that I'm an engineer, words like frequency, intensity, and duration should have some quantifiable measure. Can someone be declared addicted playing to video games once a week? Or how about someone who plays for 1 hour? Heck, my grandmother has never played a video game, and yet if she plays for 1 hour once off, is she now addicted? I assume by termination it means that someone becomes irritated when the game is switched off, which is kind of understandable if there is a sudden blackout while you spend a solid hour building that epic army to finish off the game. Heck, I would be just annoyed if the power went out while I was in the middle of cooking a meal. Increasing priority given to gaming to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other life interests and daily activities. Again, this is rather vague as the wording could imply professional gamers are addicts, in which the same argument could be made towards professional athletes or of anyone of any profession. Other life interest does not make a lot of sense to me, as it implies that people must have more than one interest in their life. Again, if someone is only interested in going to the gym, are they addicted? Many people will probably say yes, which leads me back to why is there a gaming disorder but not a gym disorder? The other problem with this statement is that it fails to acknowledge that an individual's interests and daily activities change over time. At the age of 15, paying bills is not an issue. However, being 25 and living on your own, bills become priority. As for cases like sleep deprivation and starvation, as I know these will be mentioned, these are extremely rare cases. less than 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Continuation or escalation of gaming despite the occurrence of negative consequences. The behavior pattern is sufficient severity is to result in significant impairment in personal, family, social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Once again, the vague wording could place this as a simple disagreement means that someone can be placed as an addict. The term severity has no clear quantifiable value, in which how do we determine when something becomes severe? Constant failing of grades? Considering that the educational system does not work for everyone, how can we tell that this is not the case as opposed to spending an excessive amount of time gaming? Once again, this description does not take into account other factors that may be influencing a person's day-to-day life. Okay, this is where things are going to get a little personal. I do suffer from depression. It is not something I admit to garner sympathy nor to gain points in this debate. Actually, I hate the fact that I'm required to take medication to maintain a balanced mood. During the early 2000s, a major campaign was set to get people to talk about mental illness, particularly depression, anxiety, and bipolar. The suddenness of the campaign led to misdiagnosis of many young people, myself included. In order to handle being unknowingly depressed, video games became a lifeline of escapism from how I was feeling. The desire to escape and hide in video games was treated as though it was an addictive behavior, and as a result, the adults around me, including my parents, failed to see the signs. This would later see the depression manifest more strongly in adulthood and see me having difficulty in work as well as other areas of life. I am not the only one. I have spoken with many people who suffer, or more accurately suffered as a teenager, depression or anxiety. Speaking with them, a common trend arises in that almost everyone has said that they had engaged in some form of addictive behavior or substance abuse. Not only that, but each person has expressed the same thing, in that the action was used as a form of escape and provided a temporary relief in what seemed like a futile situation. Other common trends as thoughts of suicide or isolation before engaging in the chosen escapism. This leads me to conclude that this gaming disorder, addiction in general, is largely putting a band-aid on a wound and not treating the ongoing necrosis under the skin, whereas I more commonly refer to it as treating the symptom and not the disease. It is my personal belief that addiction may in fact be the cry for help from someone who is suffering a mental illness or some possible economic or social struggle, as we do see addictive behaviors, particularly substance abuse, manifest in economically struggling people. See the opioid crisis that spawned out of the Industrial Revolution. In my opinion, this is another case of not willing to understand the underlying causes of mental illness, nor the willingness to see that there are other factors, particularly social and economic, that could be the root cause of people engaging in addictive behaviors or substance abuse. Instead, this is the quick deflect that gaming is a societal problem. Mental illness is serious, and I advise anyone struggling with it to talk to your doctor and devise a plan before going on medication. Gaming is, in my opinion, one of the best forms of helping to cope with mental illness, and I advise anyone who wishes to use gaming as an escape tool to jump on an MMO and be active in a guild. Just talking to others, even behind a screen, can be a boost in stabilizing yourself. The reality is that gaming is by far the cheapest and most valuable form of entertainment, and as more people are looking for that quick reprisal from the everyday rat race, we need to look at the larger picture of what is going on. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. And if you didn't, well, the dislike button is right over there. I am Electron, and I'll see you next time.